I legitimately saw THC infused string beans the other day, like dried out, or no, the snap peas. And I'm like, I'm good. Like, I never in my life have said like I am craving a dried snap pea with THC in it.
I'm Eric Rosen. Welcome back to Cannabis Matters. We are here today with Jason Vegotsky, co-founder and CEO of Petalfast.
What's up, Eric? Happy to be here.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. I'm really quite curious, what inspired your entrepreneurial journey that led up to this point in time?
My whole life, I was a basketball player and played in high school, played in college at Bucknell. And when I stopped playing in school and kind of got into the real world, like a piece of me was like done, and super competitive, and like to build and like to go on a journey and kind of get through steps to achieve something with the team. And working for somebody just did not get that for me. And after about 2 years in the real world, I was like, forget it, man. I'm going to go build my own thing. And I've been doing it for the last 12 years, and about 4 companies in. And I think it's that competitive nature and the drive to build something with a group of people, and whether it's going through training camp and going through a basketball season and getting to the end of that journey, or it's building a company and bringing in investors and hiring people and bringing all those pieces together. It's very similar. And as long as you have a good business model, it is, there's kind of a playbook to bring folks together. And I think a lot of the success I've had in my basketball career has translated to this. And I'm alive again, man. I'm alive. And I feel like cannabis is like a double whammy, because you got a startup mentality, you're building a company, but you're also in a startup industry.
So Jason, tell me about Petalfast. What do you do, and what are some of the challenges that you're helping to solve for in the marketplace?
I was the president of Kushco Holdings for 2 years or so. Yeah, about 2 years. Kushco was a large public company. And one of the nice things about, we were selling vape and packaging. One of the nice things, even though I didn't really enjoy selling vape and packaging, it did give me a platform to talk to nearly every brand, every company in the space, right? We sold something to Canopy Growth and Aurora and GTI and Trulieve and the small guys and the big guys in every state, right? So when I get to sit down and talk to all these customers, everybody had the same problem. And coming from a distribution background and coming from kind of CPG background, all of their problems resonated, and all of their problems I had been through. And the first thing out of everybody's mouth is my distributor sucks. The second thing is I don't have a big enough sales team. I don't know how to create velocity the way I should, right? Retailers are idiots. Like, all of these things were consistent. And I thought that that was something that I could solve, because that's what I grew up around. That's what I building brands and distribution and getting them on the shelves and getting them to sell through. And Petalfast took a business model from the food and beverage space, the natural food space. Our business model is very comparable to a Costa sales and marketing, Advantage sales and marketing, or CA Fortune. So like some of the largest selling agencies in the natural food space. They used to call themselves brokerage houses. I don't think they like to call themselves that anymore, but they're now sales agencies. Like that sounds much better. So we took that business model, and then we applied alcohol beverage principles. So the way we manage our sales team, the way that we manage our supplier distributor relations is all alcohol beverage. So our tech stack is alcohol beverage. The way that we do brand management is alcohol beverage. So while the way we make money is a food and beverage model, the way that we really hire and manage is alcohol beverage. So Petalfast in California is an 18-person sales force, a 6-person brand management organization. We have 13 territory field managers that handle merchandising and trainings. And then we have about 100 brand ambassadors so that we can flex up and do all the demo activity throughout the entire state. So that model is now being replicated throughout the country. Certainly exciting times, and the industry is moving towards us, right? As competition increases, as it's harder and harder to build brands, as you need that extra muscle to get on the shelf, this is where Petalfast comes to play.
Congrats on the expansion. That's as they say, Mazel Tov. That's very exciting.
Oh, I'm Jewish, man. We're good. Mazel Tov. Yes, thank you.
So, out of all the companies that you've run before, been a part of before, including Lawless Jerky, what are some of the major lessons that you've taken from past stints and companies that you've been a part of to apply to Petalfast?
Yeah. Well, I've messed up all of them. So the question really should be, what mistakes have you made and what have you learned from? And I think, when you're growing up, and a guy that who went to Bucknell, and he was the former CEO of GTI. His name's Pete Cadens, and been talking to him for 6-7 years. And he was always about culture and people. And as a younger person, and as a inexperienced business operator with an ego, you're like, what are you talking about, people and culture? Just make a product for $1 and sell it for $2, and you're good. You know what I mean? And I don't think you fully appreciate what it's like to build cultures and to get people excited, and how do you invest in that and do that. And I've messed that up pretty much at every company that I've been at. The thing I'm most proud about at Petalfast is we've had 2 people in over 2 years, 26 months in business. We've had 2 people leave this company, right, out of the 50 people that we employ right now. And Gina Seglia, who is our chief strategy officer, oversees culture, has done a tremendous job in getting everybody engaged. And I was just talking to somebody right now, and he said something to me that I was really proud of. He's like, I've talked to everybody in the company now, and is a new hire. He's like, every single person is on the same page, right? And that's really hard to do. So I have learned from ego doesn't work. I don't care if you're the best salesman in the world, it doesn't matter. When you can bring a group of people together, get them all focused on one mission, right? It is so much better than any one individual contributor. And I think that's what I've learned over the course of 10 to 15 years. Like, that culture is the special sauce. And I said this to our team this morning on a company-wide call that we had. You know what that special sauce feels like? Because everybody says like, oh, this company has it. When you are working harder than you've ever worked, you're also having more fun than you've ever had in your career, right? That is that feeling where you're like really enjoying that work. Sometimes you get it in the gym too, where you're starting to see the results when you're working really hard. That feeling is the special sauce, and that's what we have going on here at Petalfast right now.
Building off of that for just a minute, with the brand ambassador work that you're doing, you're literally an arm extension of the brands that are your clients and partners. So how do you support the brand ambassadors in engaging in authentic connections with consumers that are also aligned with the DNA of the company's culture?
Yeah, I think number one, like with lower level employees, entry level employees, showing them a path of growth is hugely important, right? And that's, I think, is the number one driver of motivation for an entry level employee. If I am here doing this type of work, is this going to benefit me down the road to move my career forward, right? So we are big on showing that path. These brand ambassadors, from what I've seen, there's no training. They don't get to hear brand pitches. They don't understand what the brands are doing. And we've got some scale, right? We've got some scale. So we're able to give part-time 1099, brand ambassadors close to full-time work because we're growing so much. Consistency with the brands and with our retailers has allowed us to have consistent brand ambassador work that has allowed us to bring in some nice talent.
Cannabis as an industry has a really unique set of handicaps and constraints. And brand ambassadors are really the unsung heroes of every industry. I don't care if they're at Best Buy or in a dispensary, they're the influencers, right? So how are you guiding brands and your brand ambassadors to build and earn and retain loyalty at let's call it the last 3 feet of the sale?
Well, for us, we need to gain loyalty, right? You need to get trial. And when you go into a dispensary, it's almost overwhelming. There are so many products, right? And getting trial is unbelievably difficult in cannabis right now. And how do you get a consumer to try your product? It's either some sort of demo activity where you're actually, smacking the consumer in the face with a booth to showcase what the brand story is and maybe a non-medicated sample, or it's getting the relationship with the bud tender. So the bud tender then, when talking to, Eric Rosen, pushes it towards the brand that we want to be talking about. So actually, one of the reasons why we love in-store demos so much is because if you're hanging out for 3 hours talking about Yada Yada or Space Coyote or Bloom or whatever brand you're representing, you're going to be in there for 3 hours talking with the bud tenders, right? And those bud tenders are then going to take that information and they're going to be, spitting it out to the rest of the consumer base. So we don't always just look at that brand ambassador work as transactional in the sense that you're going to just be there for 3 hours, sell as much product as you can. It's also very strategic in making sure that we're giving bud tender samples, talking them up, giving them t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. That is a huge opportunity to be in a store for 3 hours, and we make the most of it.
Given your expansion, you've got a really interesting vantage point. So I'm curious what you're most bullish about from a state standpoint, from a product perspective, or even companies that are out there that are interesting.
From a product standpoint, it's great that we started in California because it seems like everything moves from California across the country. I remember talking to GTI, and I'm like, guys, solventless is coming, right? It's all the rage in California. And now I'm going into dispensaries in Illinois, and I'm seeing a lot of solventless products and hash and rosins, and it's all moving across the country. We saw a similar trend with infused pre-rolls. The market was, a 90% traditional pre-roll, 10% infused, and now it's about 50-50 in California. And we've seen that trend. So understanding the trends in California allow us to get smart and get ahead of the game across the country for sure. From a state perspective, we really like Arizona. I feel like the market itself is easy for us to handle because it's close by. It's the second largest market. And for us, one of the biggest things about running kind of sales and distribution is just geographically how easy it is to manage, right? We're used to California, which is the size of the whole Northeast. It's a beast. We got people all over the place. It is not very conducive to operational efficiencies, especially with the way the cannabis licenses are laid out, where you've got, 800 stores throughout a state that should have, 18,000 stores like alcohol beverage. And I think the other thing I'm excited about is we mature the state quickly. The way that we build out brand plans, the way that we plant, the way that we operate with retailers, the way that we build out our programming, we're going to mature these states that have been very monopolistic by nature for a long time. And now they're starting to get competitive, and you need to apply these traditional CPG methodologies to have success.
Let's put on the advice hat for a minute. So if you could give advice to a new brand that's entering the market or about to enter the market, what would you tell them?
Well, my biggest learning experience in the first year starting Petalfast was I was shocked by how many brands were launching that never talked to a retailer. You got a gatekeeper that is the buyer and the retailer, and you got to make them happy to get on their shelves. So understanding your competition, understanding price points, understanding are you different, right, is going to be a big factor of whether or not you're going to get in the store. So the second thing that is mandatory if you're going to have success in cannabis, are you differentiated, truly differentiated? We need to really differentiate products in this space to be able to have success, because there are a ton of products that are the same thing, right? And just having a pre-roll is not going to get the job done anymore. You got to differentiate your story, your pricing, your supply chain. Something has to be differentiated from your competition to have success. And then I'll go with one more. Do we need this product?
Yeah, just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? Jason, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for carving out the time to be with us today.
You're welcome, man. appreciate what you guys do.